Hello, welcome fellow Toastmasters and guests to our meeting of online presenters Toastmasters Club. The meeting has begun. Yes, we're so glad to have you here. If you'd like to be a member of our club, please note you should have been a current or former active member of Toastmasters International, completed at least 6 Toastmasters official speeches. However, if you have substantial relevant presentation experience, we welcome you to apply for membership after you demonstrate your abilities in a 2 to 3 minute speech delivered during one of our club meetings. All requests for membership are subject to members of our club. If you haven't already done so, please change your panel to ensure it displays your name and role. Hover over your video, right-click, and select Rename to do so. And while you're at it, please mute your microphone when you're not speaking. We have members and guests from many countries throughout the world. As a professional organization, we ask that you please be aware of language or word usage that may be considered offensive or otherwise insensitive due to cultural differences. And now, please help me welcome our club president, a lifelong learner, Joni Laidlaw. Welcome, Joni. Hey, my applause go. Joni, are you there? Is anybody there?
Yeah, we're here.
Okay.
We're here. Are you hearing us now? Awesome. As a lifelong learner, let me just say, Toastmasters is a great place to be just that. As Helen Blanchard, the first female to sneak in to Toastmasters, said, if you get everything out of Toastmasters there is to get out of Toastmasters, you will never get out of Toastmasters. And for someone who is a lifelong learner, it's always amazing how we can learn and grow. With that, I'm going to make a segue to our next meeting, which is going to be a very special meeting. Now, as it relates to this meeting, it is going to be about how we can go about data disentangle, re-entangle, unentanglement. Well, you know what? It's live only, and they're gonna say how to get all of the jumbled, copious amounts of information, which I have a lot of, unjumbled. But this is gonna be a special educational feature, which will only be live. There won't be a video playback, so be there or you're going to miss it for this one. And we're gonna be here with Kate Norris. Again, lifelong learning, a topic that we didn't know, we'd want to know, but you'll be so amazed at probably at the end what you will walk away with knowing. We're moving in on the topic to a scholar of lifelong learning. I believe he's done more possible jobs than I have. Not very easy to compete in that department, by the way. But let me introduce you to our Vice President of Education, who will be taking us through the meeting today as our Toastmaster of the day, Graham Carnes.
Thank you very much, President Joni, and welcome everyone to this meeting of Online Presenters Toastmasters Club. I got no idea what meeting number it is. It's probably on the agenda somewhere, but I haven't looked, so I don't care. Now, the theme for the meeting, as you have already heard, is lifelong learning, because, well, there was a reason why I chose the theme today, and that is that it's International Student Day. Actually, International Student Day has a fairly tragic background. It is the day in which a number of students were killed during a series of protests against an authoritarian government, but that doesn't mean that it has to remain that way. So today is International Students Day, and it is a day that we should consider the importance of lifelong learning. Now, I'm pretty sure that'll come up later in table topics. It'll certainly come up during various presentations during the day. So lifelong learning, and the word of the day is scholar. But I'll do more about that when we get to the grammarian. But be a scholar. Learn. If you don't get the opportunity to learn, then learn anyway, because If you don't learn, then you learn by not learning. And that's not a good thing. Is that a negative? Yes, it is, but so am I sometimes. Okay, let's do the introductions of people who are going to be assisting me today. I have, for example, a timekeeper. And Alison, can you show us how you are going to indicate the times today?
Yes, Mr. Toastmaster of the day. I was experiencing some technical difficulties, but I rebooted my computer. Once the speaker hits the minimum amount of time, I will display a green background. When you're about midway through, I will change the background to a pretty yellow. And if you run at the maximum mark, I will change it to red. If you go over, I will disappear and you will see this nice little image that says over time, indicating that you've talked way too much. So I'm going to hand it back to the scholar who teaches me so much. Mr. Toastmaster, back to you.
Thank you very much, Alison. And I got to say, if I am teaching you, it is a symbiotic relationship because I learn every time you present, and that's a fabulous thing. Our R counter today is Andrew Byrne. Now, I hate R counting, but it is, as I have pointed out in a speech I did here once, unfortunately, it is a valid way of improving our communication skills. So to tell us about being an R counter, please welcome Dr. Andrew Byrne, MD, Face P, DTM3, and general all-round nice guy.
Thank you very much, Toastmaster of the day. The purpose of the R counter is to actively listen for filler words, for words that are being used when you don't know what to say next. And that's when you should be thinking about pause, 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 instead of ah, so, and filler words that we look out for. I'll be recording these and reporting out when called upon during our evaluation section. Back to you.
Thank you, Andrew. When I hear pauses, I automatically think pause, pause, but no, that would be a visual thing. Oh, which brings us to the watcher. Hello, Sunny, tell us about your role as watcher.
Wow. I'll be watching you. Basically, that is my role. I'll be the visual eyes for this meeting, your backgrounds, the way you use your hands, perhaps, and your body language. And when called upon, I will give a report. Remember, I'm watching you. Back to you.
Fabulous. Thank you very much for that, Sunny. Our chat monitor, which is something that's really only required in an online club. But to explain what he will do as chat monitor, please welcome Chatty Jim.
Woohoo!
Thank you, Mr. Toastmaster and my fellow Toastmasters. As the chat monitor this evening, I will be, monitoring the chat. This is not rocket science. It does not require scholars' attention, but simply I'm going to be watching what flows through the chat, and if something shows up that our Toastmaster needs to know about, I will alert him to it so he doesn't have to continually watch it. Other than that, I will give a report at the end of the meeting reminding everyone of anything that they might want to save that was in the chat this evening, and that is the extent of it, Mr. Toastmaster.
Excellent. Thank you, Chatty Jim. Jim Barber there, our chat monitor for this meeting. A couple of other people who will appear later. We have the table topics master today, Andrei Smolenko, and I'll introduce Andrei a little later. And then the third portion of the meeting is evaluation, and to coordinate that session will be our general evaluator for today, Marianne Grady, who again will get introduced later in the meeting. So those are our ancillary roles. Those are the other roles other than the speakers and evaluators. The evaluation will be a little unusual today, but we'll get to that a little later. For those watching this via replay, most of you will be Toastmasters, but some of you may not, and you may wonder, how does a Toastmasters meeting work? Well, traditionally, it comes in three parts. The first is the formal presentations, where we have people who are trying to meet specific objectives in their speeches via the Pathways Education Program, which is the underpinning education program of Toastmasters. So there will be today a couple of prepared presentations. Then there will be the most valuable part of the Toastmasters experience, as far as I'm concerned. That will be the evaluations, because everything that we do in Toastmasters is evaluated. We don't judge, we don't criticize, but we do evaluate. We do provide feedback. And the third part is impromptu speaking. And this, it could be argued, is the type of speaking that most of us will be called upon to do most often. And so with table topics, which Andre will present a little later, you will get, or you will see people who will be presenting 2-minute presentations that they have no notice of and have to try and do it on the fly, wing it as it were. So that will be coming up. So as I say, there are 3 parts of a Toastmasters meeting. The first of those, as mentioned, is the formal presentations. And we have 2 formal presentations today. And what's really interesting is that they're coming from different ends of the spectrum. Our latest speaker will be speaking from level 1 of a new path. That's the introductory material. But our first speaker today will be doing the final presentation in an entire path. So there are introductory material, there's expansion material, there's getting better, there's really becoming a fine speaker, and then there's putting it all together. And when all of that's completed, we get to the completion of a path. And the completion of a path is, well, it's quite an important moment. Today, Kirthikka Devi Venkataram will be presenting her Reflect on Your Path project. This is from level 5, demonstrating expertise of her strategic relationships path. It's called My Path Completion Project. Now, traditionally, this would be a 10 to 12-minute presentation, but she's also asked to be given an extra 5 minutes to present a video. And so, Madam Timekeeper, can we have times at, let's say, 10, 13 and 15 minutes? So that will give Kirthikka a good indication of how she is going. If she hasn't started her video by the time the green light comes on, she's going to run out of time. So 10, 13 and 15 minutes. Please welcome Kirthikka Devi Venkataram with My Path Completion Project.
Thank you, Toastmaster Graham. Communicate to create a change. Correlate with emerging and trending ideas. Cooperate to implement a change. And that's leadership. Can you please go? This is my Toastmasters Pathway Reflection Strategic Relationship. Humor isn't the reciprocal of dueness. The more you roll over, the more you detach your worries. This is a quote that I wrote inspired by our new director of Toastmasters International. What I learned during this strategic relationship pathway, there are many things, the skills that got piled up in me. I was just trying to dissipate it into a different barge, different garages, that the train could be tracked down in a straight path without derailing. The skills learned, the achievements, the path that I have grown, the way that I was able to express myself, and the opportunities where I was able to extract the skills learned here as a transferable knowledge outside of Toastmasters, were a juicy thing which I wanted to express here, showing my gratitude and showing my thankfulness to every single Toastmaster who have contributed towards my journey. The first skill which made me to become from an individual to a leader is to become aware of yourself. The way that you create influence starts with the way that you understand yourself. The most important skills that I have learned over a period of time in this journey of this strategic relationship path are not just to be listed down. They are to be absorbed as the bread and butter of daily communication, the daily confidence that I bring in, and the daily courteous way that I carry forward. Especially when I speak about self-awareness, respect, compassion, it directly contributes towards the culture that I come from. The vision that I have is correlated with the organization that I associate myself with. The gratitude and the integrity is always proposed and projected in a way that one carries towards the organization or towards the non-profit institute that you work for. This gratitude, integrity, mended with the collaborative effort, brings in the collegiality among ourselves, treating us one among us. The resilience that I have built over a period of time is just visible in my eyelid. The second most important skill that I learned is the executive skill, the executive presence. The decisiveness, what gives you the opportunity, also gives you a threat. Be decisive in what you want. Communicate with clarity and concisely. Get it as a word of verdict. Become authentic in the way that you propose or project your ideas. Composure is the most difficult skill that I have been practicing on an online stage. It's because of the motion of my hand gesture, the way that I look into the camera, the way that I place myself, getting the executive presence. It took me around at least 6 to 7 months to notice that I have a little jitter and a jerk in the camera when I appear on the camera. This awareness, the emotional intelligence that I wanted to build to get my nerves down and to calm down so that I look beautiful and smile like a Barbie doll on a camera is not just a composure, but a strength and also a decision that I have took myself to present me well. The strategic skill, the most important skill that I developed during this pathway is to focus on a business vision. You might be associated with an organization by this time, or you might be out of the organization. What makes you perfect, or what makes you to get to the stage of excellence, not being a perfectionist, is to get the business vision into you. Observe the business vision and then try to define the objective that always mends with the business objective. Your goals and targets, when it meets or aligns with the business objective, there is a direct hit. You develop a strategic action plan accordingly, and that strategic action plan will get into a pyramid of steps, starting from your communication, composure, and as well as the action steps that you take it at every single stage of your development, which will be proposed and projected evidently to the audience that you stand before. The most important skill that I learned is the adaptive change management. With a dynamic world, an agile world where VUCA is everywhere, not only from the industrial point of view, but everywhere, volatility needs to be taken care with utmost care, especially into my domain where I worked mostly for automotive industry, where the blood vein is the business line. They take care of integrity, authenticity, and placing yourself into a position where you could excel is completely dependent on the way that you express. And that obviously requires an adaptive change management with not only with the technological change, but with the leadership change that happens quite frequently. Choosing an appropriate mental model to get yourself aligned is an extremely difficult way or an extremely difficult job that one has to handle. As a leader, it becomes your day-to-day life to walk the talk and to choose the best model, getting the adaptive change management structure into you as a person who is not becoming flexible but adaptive to the changes. The communication skills, you need to be concise, accurate, be precision on what you say. A word or two will do, but just hit them with a nail. All these things help me to present what online presenters is today. I just started researching about the nonprofit organization that I am associated with. It gave me good information of what a virtual club is and how we talked as one among the 373 virtual clubs all around, and how we are attracting visitors, guests, as well as keeping the members satisfied on an overall. This helped me to derive the tagline, accelerate your online presentation skills. It also helped me to create promotional videos. It helped me to write leadership newsletter where my words, deeds, action were integrated and projected authenticity and integrity in it. I also started to write small quotes. For example, an introvert is not a poor communicator, rather a precise communicator. It mentored my engineering precision with the communication language that I have built as an engineer to a manager, and also to promote myself as a leader. This is a mended graph of Johari window, where once feedback, once awareness, self-awareness leads you to take forward to multiple steps into the career ladder, into a career ladder where you can grow up as fast as you can. The one which is a blind spot always has a risk of being obnoxious, aggressive people into your life. It might be your manager, it might be your personal partner, it might be your friend, it might be your colleague, or it might be your foe, anybody for that matter. They might look to be caring you personally, but they challenge openly, giving you a tough time. These characteristics, which are unknown to you and unknown to others, are the dangerous zone which you have to get into limelight, choosing yourself with good presenters, with good mentors, and promoting yourself before good presenters. Manipulative insecurity always lies in an office or a corporate environment. The only thing that helps you to get out of the manipulative insecurity, the hidden area which is known to you but it is not unknown to us others, is to get your authenticity in a forum like this. A worldwide audience, a global platform, a place where you can project yourself, a place where you can bring in all your strengths. That is the way where the feedback from others and the way that you promote yourself to reveal about yourself is a mended radical candor and the Johari window that I derived. What is known to others have to be promoted on a day-to-day basis, and that only comes by practice. The progressive approach, transformation and growth, it's not learning A one day and B the second day. It is learning all the alphabets one day, and the second day alphabets to 3 to 4 letter words, and the third day you move on to forming a sentence. And that is what is growth and transformation means. And the transformation should lead you to be a person of worth, which means you must be financially viable to demand in the market. And that's what Toastmasters is all about. And that is how you promote in an online forum. That's what online presenters is all about, which I'm striving to get into a career path with not only with my linguistic capability, but proposing all the strengths that I've gathered with the latest technology, usage of tools, techniques, as well as mending the leadership skill into presenting something like this. This is one small video that helped me to prepare in an hour for a question and answer session, like ask me anything. I did not have anything prepared for a level 4 speech. I was speechless, but I had less time. I do not have much time. What I am going to do? Just do whatever I have in hand. And that is how this was born. The next most important aspect of online presenter, of being associated with online presenters, is being the VPPR, the Vice President of Public Relations. It gets me to the nerve of knowing the data-driven insights of our club, which will obviously help us to grow further. In a commodity-driven world, your data-driven results are going to be the fuel for your growth as well as the organization that you are associated with. My pinpointed approach of finding out people who are subscribers of Facebook but not engaging, and people who are non-subscribers of our Facebook page but do engaging, gets me the number of competitors that we have and the way that we need to present ourselves, the standard and quality which we need to improve over a period of time, which we have discussed in the moments of truth. A small niche, our YouTube subscribers have grown to 19%, though the watch time is obviously less. And for that, there are certain strategies and action plans which has been implemented already, and I hope you all members of our club will support it by liking, sharing, and engaging as members, which gets our club to the worldwide audience. And after this, I also had an opportunity to do a panel discussion. I led the stentorious who are loud enough in our club in the panel discussion. The most important learning of my pathway is, if you just want to be a good thinker, you must develop a mindset that you can jump the jurisdictional boundaries. Just go for it. Don't think back. You will succeed in a progressive way. Okay. If I may ask the timer, do I have time?
Not at this stage, but we will probably we'll try and leave space for your video at the end of the meeting, but that is the 15 minutes that was allocated. So unless you really want to present that now, we'll give you your space for the video a little later. Are you happy with that?
Definitely, not a problem, Renee.
All right. In that case, everybody, thank Kirthikka Devi Venkataram for her observations and her path completion, the things that she has learned. I think we've all learned something here today as well. So I congratulate you on that, Kirthikka. Thank you very much. So let's move on now to our second formal presentation for today. And this is from Joni Renee Laidlaw. She's doing the Visionary Communications path. This is a level 1 project. Level 1 is Mastering Fundamentals. This is the introduction to vocal variety and body language. Joni will be discussing how we showed Endeavour to be open-minded, shows how we should endeavour to be open-minded, especially as it relates to communication. So what do you see, Joni Renee Laidlaw?
Everyone, I'm going to ask you to keep an open mind. Now, I'll never tell anyone I'm a scholar at business etiquette and how to speak professionally. Imagine being given a vision. You look off in the distance. You can see it. But sometimes it's hard, very extremely hard to explain. I'm going to give everyone a quick demonstration on exactly why that's the case. Now, if you have the same old thinking, you always get the same old results, but everybody's favorite phrase is always, but that's the way we've always done it. Now, imagine being in a top-down, the person at the top said it, therefore we have to do it kind of situation, and you're a bottom-up thinker. I'm going to now explain to everyone exactly why it's so difficult for us all to see and understand the same thing. I always say we all speak the same language, but we don't always speak the same language. Now that I've given everybody a chance to look at the picture, please unmute, and everybody can do it together. I have a multiple attention span. Tell me what you see.
Two different women, one
A
young woman
lady.
looking away from us, one older woman looking toward our bottom left shoulder.
Okay, all right. Show of hands. How many people saw the young lady? Do the raise hand feature. Okay, all right. I see a couple of us. How many of us? All right, I'm going to give you the chance to put your hands down. All right, Kirthikka saw the young lady. Hands up, how many of us saw the old lady? And he saw the old lady, Jim saw the old lady, Kirthikka saw the old lady, all right? And Andy did, all right? And who saw both? Well, I know Graham saw both. Andy saw both. All right. So a lot of us actually saw both. Some of us saw only one. Some of us saw one or the other. What if I told you that I have given this presentation a number of times and I see the young lady, and yes, there are psychological ramifications, but I'm not going into that. I'm just going into, I've been told where the young lady, the older lady is. I have seen the diagrams. They said it is here, they've pointed, but to this date, I'm still unable to see it. I can only see it on a highlighted diagram. The only thing I can envision is what's there. All right, we're gonna do one more. What are you seeing?
Oh, a lady.
A lady's face, okay?
With the
Who
eyes.
is seeing a lady's face and who is seeing a man with a saxophone? Hands up, lady's face.
I see both.
I saw
both.
I see
the
both.
saxophone first, but
Oh.
then I saw the lady.
Okay. Next, all right, Jim, who saw the other one? All right, Makisha, I see that, and Jim. And now we're gonna do who saw both.
I see both.
I saw both, and I see both of them all the time. No one pops out first. Now, I know everybody's going to be asking, what does that have to do with how we communicate? Well, we all speak English, but we don't all speak the same language. Our culture, how we are brought up, what we're exposed to, and our socialization all craft how we envision things. It's not only about using the right words, quote unquote, based on what we believe are the right words. It actually also entails context. Most of the time, it's hard for people to see a vision as you share it because they may have never had an associated context. It took me a very long time to understand and appreciate that contextually, it's very difficult for us to see and envision what we've never envisioned. And hypotheticals tend to be difficult. And sometimes, even if you draw a picture and a diagram, there is no guarantee that your vision will be seen by everyone. I know, disappointing, right? But here's the thing. The beauty of life is that as time progresses, you see your vision, you know where you're headed, and you know the projection of what's going to happen. It's important that once you've shared the vision, you leave yourself open to the whys, the lack of understanding, the questions, and the knowing that sometimes the naysayers might not have context, just like the people giving you the praise may not have context. What's important is to share your vision, what you've seen in the best way possible, in a language that hopefully covers as much context as possible. But even if you look off into the future and you're able to see things that no one else can, always keep in mind that once you've shared the vision, you keep your heart set, you'll get there. Follow your North Star. Back to you, Toastmaster of the Day.
Thank you, Joni. Thank you for that. And thank you for making us think about things in different ways, which is, I guess, the point that we're making. Actually, I remember many, many years ago, when I was still studying, reading a book by E.D. Hirsch called Cultural Literacy, What Every American Needs to Know. And as I was reading that, not being American and not sharing all of the contextual clues that came from the list that he provided, it struck me as a reminder once again of the aphorism that might have been by George Bernard Shaw, it might have been by H.G. Wells, it might have been nobody, but somebody once said something like, America and England are two nations divided by a single language. And as somebody who has had to deal with various iterations of English, the proper one, which we speak here in Australia, and all of the other ones which everybody else speaks, then, you know, yeah, sometimes the problem with communication is what we have here is a failure to communicate. But I'm not going to go any further because that's something that Jim will no doubt talk about during his evaluation. Time now to move on to the rest of the meeting. And for that, I need to find my agenda, which is here. Here it is. Right, now I can see it. Okay, we've had our two speakers. It's now time for, actually, I'll get timing if I can. Can I get the times for both of those presentations? Joni, 6:22 and 15:30 exactly. That means that both of our speakers are in fact eligible for the Best Speaker Award. Coming up in your chat sometime soon when I get round to it, there will be an opportunity for you to vote for the best speaker for tonight. Please do so by clicking on the appropriate link. Time now, as I say, to move on to the next fun part of the meeting, and that is the table topic session where we all get a chance to speak without preparation. To present table topics, please welcome Andrei Smolenko. Hey, Andrei, it's all yours.
Thank you very much, Graham. Well, yes, it's all about learning today. It's all about being scholar of life. And I'm table topics master for tonight. We have experienced online presenters here, and we have a guest who is probably an experienced presenter as well, is Makisha. Just to ask Makisha, would you like to take part in table topics? And do you know what table topics are?
Good evening. Yes, I would love to take part in table topics, and I am very much aware as to what all it entails.
Excellent. Thank you. I can feel that you're a great scholar of Toastmasters, and I will call upon you. Just a brief introduction to table topic session. Personally, is one of my favorite parts of the evening, where I prepared a number of questions in relation to our meeting theme. This is about learning. I'll ask them, and within between 1 to 2 minutes, please speak impromptu, speak off the cuff, and make sure you speak at least for 1 minute if you want to be qualified for voting. After table topic session is completed, we all have a chance to vote for our favorites, the best table topics. So let's learn. The first question I prepared is, if you had to master a completely new skill in the next 6 months, what would it be and why? And this question goes to Sherry Blake.
I always seem to know when I'm going to be called on, but thank you so much for that question. The skill that I would like to acquire, because I don't think I'm good at it, is the art of networking. I don't consider myself shy or even quiet. I'm more observant when I don't say things, but when I get into a room with people who I don't know, I do become shy and quiet. I don't know what to say. Now, what will trigger me into having a fulfilling conversation with someone is if they start talking and we have things in common and I feel a connection to them. But just to be able to work a room, like to go to a conference, well, I'll say this. If I was at a Toastmasters conference, I think I would feel very comfortable because we all have something in common, and that's speaking. But if I was going to even a conference in my field where I don't know people, yeah, sometimes I kind of step back and I just become quiet until I can get the nerve to just talk to people who I don't know, ask them questions, even sometimes outside of why we're even there, right? Who wants to just constantly talk about the field? You want to learn more about people. So the art of networking is something that I would love to get better at because I think it's a valuable skill to have in terms of meeting people, you know, charting out your, if that's the right word, your career path, because you could be somewhere where maybe you might be able to move into a different field or a different company if you're looking. So yeah, the art of networking is what I would like to work on. Thank you. Back to you, Table Topic Master.
Thank you very much for sharing that, Sherry. Something that I'm not very good at is face-to-face networking, or speaking in front of so many people that I don't know, but I want to sell my products and services to. Something that I do, I go to online networking, and then if anything, I can just mute myself, or I can just switch the video off if I don't feel comfortable about that. So online networking for me works. And we go into the second question for the table topic session is, describe a time when failure taught you a valuable lesson. Describe a time when failure taught you a valuable lesson. And this question goes to Jim Barber. I see Jim is trying. There we go. There we go.
Yeah, thank you, Mr. Toastmaster and Mr. Table Topics Master. You caught me in the middle of doing some photo editing and I couldn't get out of that in a hurry. Now, I'm sorry, what was the last time or most recent time that I learned something from failure? Was that the question? Okay. There's so many to choose from. Oh my gosh, how many times they say that you learn best from failure. And I like to learn something every day. I consider it a good day if I can say that I've learned something. Unfortunately, I have found that that means that I generally have to fail at something every day. And I have been going over capacity, over quota on my failure rate recently. It seems like I cannot not only fail every day, I'm failing every hour. So when was the last time that I failed at something, that I learned something? There are so many to choose from that I couldn't begin couldn't begin to even think about what would be the most recent time, except that I think you did ask the most recent time, and that narrows it down, because the most recent time that I learned something from failure is not to be doing some video editing, some image editing rather, when you are the topics master and you're going to you might call on me for a table topics question, because that happened this evening. You caught me completely unawares. I was not prepared with an answer, and that's why I've been babbling away for the last minute and a half. So that is the time most recently that I failed, and that is the time that I learned something. It's been both. It's been an interesting experience. Back to you, Mr. Topics Master.
Oh, bravo, Jim Barber. Now I've learned something from your perceived failure, how to babble amazingly for at least 1 minute and then still manage to answer the question. A brilliant skill. Thank you, Jim. And the third question that I've prepared for today sounds like, do you believe formal education is still the best path to success? Do you believe that formal education is still the best path to success? And this question goes to our guest, Markisha.
There we go.
Thank you very much for that question. Do I believe that formal education is still the best path to success? Was that the question? I'm sorry, having a... Okay, wonderful. The answer to that question, I would say it depends on how you look at it. When I hear formal education, I think about a formal setting, for example, school, an institution. And the opposite of a formal education would be informal education, whereby individuals are perhaps, this is what I'm thinking in my mind, whereby individuals are being taught outside of the formal educational setting. I say it depends on how you look at it, simply because it has to do with one's goals, it has to do with your worldview, and it has to do with how you were socialized or cultured. That being said, I will share my personal answer, which will, of course, give light to how I view this particular topic. I do believe that formal education is that path to success. For example, when a child attends school, they not only learn, for example, academics or what is being taught there, they are also prepared for the world of work. For example, they learn time management, they learn how to be disciplined, etc. And so, because of that, I totally agree with that question. Thank you very much, Table Topics Master.
Thank you very much for answering that, Markisha, in the way you answer it, because I truly believe in formal education, especially first thing in the morning, about 7:30, when I need to wake up my son and he doesn't want to go to school, and he comes up with all sorts of ideas about alternative education when you're asleep, and all them teachers just mumbling and mumbling something for you. And I say, get up and go to your school. And it's what I like to do. So thank you for sharing that. The next question I prepared sounds like this. If you could have a 1 hour private lesson with any historical figure, who would it be and what would you want to learn? Private lesson with any historical figure, who would it be and what would you like to learn? And this question goes to Marianne Grady.
Well, thank you, Table Topics Master. If I could learn from somebody, living or dead, and a historical figure, I would say I would go back to Eleanor Roosevelt. I believe she was a very wise woman, and she shared her thoughts for her time without any fear. And back then, women really weren't encouraged to do that. So I loved how strong she was and how poised she was. And I really thought the woman was a very classy woman. And I appreciate when somebody kind of steps out of the expected role. And it's not always easy to do. And in my own career, I know I fought some stereotypes along the way, and I learned how to do it, and it wasn't easy. But when I did it, I always developed more confidence. And so she's a person who did it way before her time. And I would love to just know what gave her that courage to do it. Back to you, Table Topics Master.
Thank you very much, Marianne. And the way you describe it, I think I would love to be with you during that hour of one-to-one lessons, so I can pass it on, perhaps something to my daughter, and keep something to myself as well. Thank you. The next question is, what is the funniest or most bizarre piece of advice you've ever received from a self-help book or an overly enthusiastic life coach? So, bizarre piece of advice from a self-help book or over-enthusiastic life coach. And this question goes to Dr. Sunny Fridge.
Right when I'm trying to edit too. Wow, the most bizarre piece of advice that I've ever received didn't come from someone, so a coach or something like that, but probably when I was about 10 years old and I was in school and I had an art teacher, Mrs. Green, and I don't know, I must have been stressing about something I still to this day cannot remember. But she took me by the side and said to me, what did she say to me? What doesn't kill you makes you stronger. And this little Black girl said, I don't know what this white lady's talking about, but I have remembered it ever since then. And then one of those stars, who was it who made the song, What Doesn't Kill You Makes You Stronger? That person from one of those singing shows. I'm looking right at her face and I can't remember it. But Kelly Clarkson, she made it famous. And other people probably have too. But over the years, I often think that when something just so bad happens, and I guess she was just trying to say no matter how terrible things get or how down you get, it makes you stronger. And I love that I remembered that Nietzsche said that. And I just remembered that all these years later, it sticks with me. Bizarre or not, what doesn't kill you usually makes you stronger. Back to you.
Thank you very much, Dr. Sunny. What doesn't kill you makes you stronger. Exactly. This is what I'm going to say to my son next time when he doesn't want to go to school about formal education. And Nietzsche himself, the great philosopher, said that. Thank you. I've learned something today. Mr. Graham Cairns, our Toastmaster of the day. One more. Okay, so we have a final table topic. That's what I was going to ask. And it sounds like, what is the most unexpected or non-traditional place you have learned something truly significant? So truly significant, you learn from unexpected or non-traditional place. And this question goes to Dr. Andrew Byrne. Dr. Byrne.
Thank you very much. You should now hear me. I turn my mic back on. What untraditional place did I learn something important? I think that for me, growing up as I had, the unexpected place for learning different philosophies came from television, and particularly came from television shows. When I was younger, I was very much into sci-fi. Sci-fi books I consumed as people would breathe air. I watched TV shows that were sci-fi oriented as well. In particular, I was there in 1966 when they launched Star Trek. And Gene Roddenberry, who's the primary creator of Star Trek, had a lot of philosophies that he imbibed into his shows. There wasn't an episode that you can watch that didn't have a social opinion that you thought about. These are the things that helped me broaden my perspectives on different social issues from an unexpected place. Star Trek, The Next Generation, Star Trek, the original, Star Trek Voyager, Star Trek Deep Space Nine, and the 4 movies that are also related to Star Trek, not to mention the books. All these things help broaden my thinking, see the future, and make me think about different philosophical issues. Back to you.
Thank you very much, Dr. Andrew Byrne, for reminding us about the importance of sci-fi and Star Trek and what came out after Star Trek Legacy. It's all about learning. Thank you. Madam Timer, I would like to ask a brief report on the speakers. Are all the speakers qualified?
Yes.
Well, thank you for posting it. I can see all speakers qualified.
Yes, they did.
Right. And I was roaring to ask you, Madam Timer, a table topics question, but luckily you escaped this time. But perhaps for the next time, I'll come up with something else. Since all table topics participants qualified for voting, so please cast your votes by clicking the link that will be in the chat very soon. And with this, I pass this virtual stage back to our Toastmaster of the day, Mr. Graham Carnes, I believe, or it goes to General Evaluator.
Thank you, Andre. So the vote is in the chat. Here's your opportunity to vote. If you haven't already voted for Best Speaker, you can do it from this same link. But the Best Speaker and the Best Table Topic are now available for you to vote upon. I don't know that we're going to need a vote for Best Evaluator because there is only one formal evaluator tonight. But to give you the details on that, please welcome our General Evaluator for this evening. Please say hello, Marianne Grady. Yay!
Why, good evening, fellow Toastmasters. As you heard, I am your general evaluator, and we're going to start off a little differently than usual. We're going to do, in honor of Kirthikka's level 5 on strategic relationships, and it is demonstrating expertise. Now, Graham had typed a little note in the chat earlier, so I hope you were paying attention as she spoke, because we'd like to offer her a round robin evaluation. And this is where we're going to call on each of you to probably talk for no more than a minute, but to put your 2 cents in. And if somebody says the thing you were thinking, try and come up with something different or pass it along so we don't hear the same thing again and again. So let's start with Graham.
Thank you, Madam GE. A couple of observations, if I can, for Kirthikka. One, serious congratulations. I've been watching you all the way through this path, and the development as a speaker has been marked all the way through. But more importantly, the development as a leader has coalesced in the last couple of presentations. I think tonight's presentation, or this morning for you, where you put it all together and reflect on your path, gave us a genuine look at what you have learned and what you continue to learn. So I congratulate you on that. Couple of minor things. Your first slide, for example, you had 10 different points. I would have broken that into 2 different slides, because the first one was all about, here's what I have learned. The second group of 5 were, this is how I have put these into practice. A couple of minor things like that, but genuinely, this is an incredible improvement on your presentation. Well done, and well done on completing the path.
Okay, let's hear from Joni next.
Critical. Now, let me say that I am going to go with the graphics. I have seen your development as it relates to what you've created, what it looks like, and the evolution actually shows the improvement as you go along, from copious amounts of information to breaking it down to making it smaller, more manageable, more readable. How would I suggest that you improve? I would suggest that you offer a transition to us when you are presenting the information, and also you tested your framing, but then you became a passport size picture, just your head and shoulders, which removed from the connection. And because I saw you practice before, if I didn't, I would go, it's a part of the presentation, but because I saw you practice it before, it was a bit of a disappointment for me. So my suggestion would be to keep your framing so that we have that body language and contact. And I enjoyed the improvement on your graphics. Back to you, Mary.
Okay, let's hear from Allie next.
All right. Thank you, Madam General Evaluator Kirthikka. Wow. As my previous fellow Toastmasters has commented, your growth throughout this path has been marked and noticed by all of us. I loved your slide presentation. As an online presenter, I love to see slides. Love how your slides were professionally laid out. You walked us through the highlight bullet points. There were other bullet points there that we could read, and you picked out the highlights and going through a couple areas of opportunity. One thing that helps to improve an online presentation is the use of hands. Where we really couldn't see your hands, body motion really comes into play to help connect with the audience. It shows your passion, it shows your emotions and your feelings. That's how you can step up your game. So I'm looking to give friendly, loving advice here today, is to step up your game, is to incorporate body language. My other suggestion, I really, really wanted to see your video. And something as an online presenter that I do every day is I have an allotted time to meet with a client, and I have to structure everything into that meeting. So practice, always practice. It doesn't hurt. Is practice with a stopwatch and a timer to help, so you can present to your audience everything you wanted them to know. And at the end, if you couldn't cover everything, drop a PDF or images into the chat. That is my evaluation, feedback, and help suggestions, Mrs. General Evaluator.
Well, thank you kindly, Allie. Next up, Mr. Jim Barber.
Thank you, Madam General Evaluator. Kirthikka, I agree with everything that my fellow Toastmasters suggested in their evaluations. The only different thing that I want to mention is I want to commend you. In your early presentations, you did the normal thing, the common thing of having your image off to the side of the slides. And I think we talked about that. It was so important to get you in the slides so that we weren't drawn between one to the other. And you did that so well this evening. Your slides were great, but I was especially like that you became a part of the slides. Your image was in the slide itself. I loved that. You did it very, very well. Congratulations.
Okay, it looks like we're running out of time right now. So as I reflect on your path, Kirthikka, when you started, you spoke very quickly And for me, that made it harder to understand. I feel like you're very thoughtful and very poised when you present now, and you have come such a long way. So I'm so proud of you, and I love watching that type of growth here in our club. But congratulations, and that concludes our round robin evaluation. Next up, I'm going to ask Mr. Jim Barber to evaluate President Joni's speech.
Oh, thank you, Madam General Evaluator. Let me stall for a moment here while I try to undo everything. And almost there, getting closer. There we go. Now, Madam General Evaluator, my fellow Toastmasters, and Joni. Joni, this was a delight. This was technically a level 1 presentation, but it was given by a level 5 presenter, which makes it rather interesting for me as an evaluator as to how I evaluate it. I'm going to evaluate it as a level 5 presentation. And frankly, you scored. You knocked it out of the ballpark. This was great. You were to focus on vocal variety and body language, which again is kind of silly because among the members here at Online Presenters, you are one of the best in both vocal variety and body language. But let me talk briefly about each one of those. In terms of vocal variety, of course, you exercise all sorts of vocal variety, but it comes down to one word. You are conversational. You don't speak to us, you don't preach to us, you carry on a conversation with us, and you do it better than just about anybody else in the club. Congratulations. Body language. Of course, that's especially hard to do when you're in the online environment because we're working with the constraints forced upon us by these little boxes that we have there, the little Brady Bunch boxes. You nevertheless did that, as you can see here. There we go. You had wonderful gestures. Your gestures were animated. They were appropriate. They were congruent with what you were saying. You are masterful both in your vocal variety and your body language, and you demonstrated that this evening. There were two things about your presentation that I especially liked. One of them, as illustrated here, was your use of optical illusions to illustrate that you can see different things by different people, and that was an optical illusion was a great way of illustrating that, and you picked out two of my favorites. I like that very much. The other thing that I especially liked was your closing. I am a big fan of a powerful closing, and you simply said, follow your North Star. 4 simple words that summed up the whole point of your speech. I like that. If the only thing I might have said is that maybe make it a little more dramatic. Yeah, put a pause before follow your North Star and then slow it down a little bit for emphasis when you say it. That's about the only thing I could suggest, though. This was a masterful presentation. I thoroughly enjoyed it. I don't really have any serious suggestions for you to do. And the only thing that I want to mention is scholar, because I needed to get that in. Back to you, Madam General Evaluator.
Well, as you heard, since Jim is our only evaluator tonight, as opposed to since we did the round robin, and he is, of course, a scholar of evaluators, but he will be our best evaluator for this evening. Next up, I'd like to call Andrew Byrne, who is our awe counter. And let's keep our report short because we're running low on time.
Thank you very much. As I was listening to the entire presentation, I was beginning to worry that nobody would be using filler words. But alas, as people got more tired, as the meeting went through, we had the words show up. Andre had an Allison had a time that was sort of like a redo, more of a grammarian kind of a thing rather than Sonny had an and. Sherry had a well. We had Marushka, who had 2 ahs and an We had Mary Ann Grady with an and that was about it. Back to you.
Well, thank you kindly, sir. Next up, let's go for the grammarian report. Mauricia, can you give us the report? And keep it quick.
Thank you very much. I sure will. My internet was glitching in and out, and so because of that, I have the word of the day, which is scholar, being used a whooping 7 times. I thought that was good. Again, it was glitching, so I'm not sure if I missed anything. In terms of sayings that were mentioned that I really loved, the first speaker mentioned that the way you create influence starts with the way you understand yourself. That's something I took note of. And that's basically it for me. Thank you. And back to you, Madam General Evaluator.
And we are so grateful to you for stepping in tonight. That was wonderful. Now for our watcher report, Dr. Sunny.
Hello, let me go quickly. I'm not sure what our timer, Allison, was doing during not timing. I thought that was an interesting picture back there. Just wanted you to see that. And then when Kirthikka did her presentation very quickly, there was so much information on this screen, and I believe that if you look at it, you might be able to tell what you might want first with that slide, and then bring something else in regarding the Johari window, because it's fascinating. You've talked about that before, but it's a little harder for me to comprehend when I see so much going on. And then going on was Kirthikka. Several times we saw one of her sweet babies a little earlier, and I think several times I caught her just talking, and I assumed she was being a mom, and I just thought that was cute. So that is my report. Everyone else looked great, and I loved how Chatty Jim also used Joni in his picture while he was talking about her as evaluator. Back to you.
Thanks, Sunny. Next, we have our chat monitor, Chatty Jim.
Thank you, Madam General Evaluator. I'll make this quick. I'll simply remind everybody that you can save the chat by clicking on the 3 dots and clicking on Save Chat. And then you can go back and look at it as many times as you want, as often as you want. That's it.
Thank you, sir. Allie, did you have anything to report, or has everything been posted in the chat?
Madam General Evaluator, everything has been posted in the chat. All of our speakers were on time today. So great job, everyone.
Okay, and I'll give a quick report. Graham, I like that you explained everything, even despite the fact that everyone here were Toastmasters when you started, so that people can hear it on the replay. I thought the table topics were wonderful tonight, Andre, and perfect with our theme. And again, congratulations to Kirthikka, because this is a big deal when you do the level 5. So everyone, unmute and give Kirthikka a big round of applause.
Yay!
All right. Well done, Kirthikka. Well done.
Now back to you, Graham, for the awards.
Thank you very much, Madam General Evaluator, and also welcome to the kid, who we have heard referred to on more than one occasion. So welcome, Kirthikka's daughter.
Thank you.
Now, we have 2 votes tonight, and I have to say I am pleased to announce that the Best Speaker Award tonight, but it was close, closer than it might otherwise have been, goes to Joni Renee Laidlaw. Well done, Joni. But as I say, it was close. It was close. If you didn't vote, you might have made the difference. And the best table topic has disappeared from my screen. Let me hit the voting button here and find the vote count button. And the best table topic goes to, again, multiple votes, but Andrew Byrne. Well done. Those are our 2 wins for tonight.